Do you ever ask yourself, why do I do this? Or why have I done it? So things that maybe every time you do them, you feel guilty afterwards, or you have this feeling of discomfort, uneasiness, guilt, maybe anxiety, etc. So it's probably because you don't want to do these things, you didn't want to do the thing, but your emotions got the better of you, and unfortunately you self-sabotaged. So it happens to all of us, including myself. Why does it happen and what to do with it? I think the main thing is become very aware of the scripts that we actually run in our head, that we operate. A lot of these scripts were created before the age of 7 or 8, according to different sources, and those scripts are very difficult to change. Very often the way to change them is more by becoming aware and coming up with certain strategies. You learned to act in a certain way around your siblings while you were growing up, and then when you are adults you will continue acting in the same way. So if you've watched your parents, for example, act in a certain way towards your siblings, you would probably treat them in a similar way, and you might argue about the same things, whether you're 30, 40 or 50 years old. It's like being back at home. This is what happens very often, for example, during Christmas, that you see your parents or your siblings, and then someone says something or does something, and it feels like being a child again or a teenager. It's the same triggers, the same buttons being pushed, and afterwards you ask yourself, why did I do it again? Why do I still care? So it's not so much that you care, but it's just that it's a chain reaction, right? There is a trigger that was instilled when you were little, and it's been repeated so many times in your life. Perhaps that's the only way things have happened between you, for example, and your siblings, and for that reason that's the only way you automatically can think of behaving when that trigger happens. So yes, becoming self-aware, becoming aware of our triggers, how they operate and where they came from. Some behaviors are just habits. They're learned. We've never challenged them. We've never questioned them. So we act in that way. And we need to remember that our brain is a pattern recognition system. So what that means is that it likes to be a little bit lazy, because our brain has so many functions to perform, and very often at the same time it also uses up quite a substantial amount of energy, because it's about 20% of all the energy that we use, that our brain uses. It wants to choose the path of the least resistance. So it likes shortcuts, it likes autopilots, and if you've got a good autopilot installed in your brain, that's fantastic, because you just act in a polite way. Maybe you just automatically generous when someone, for example, asks for support. Yes, you may have a lot of very healthy and helpful autopilot. The problem comes up if there are unhelpful patterns, that unhelpful scripts that you simply run when something happens, and then this is exactly where you feel unhappy and unsettled later. So what to do with those patterns, what to do with those scripts that our brain runs? Well, they're like songs, okay? Our brain has really its favorite songs. It will always listen to them, and unless we do something about it, it will be like a broken record. So once something like that has happened, sit down with yourself and think, what it was that happened, maybe what words, maybe what thoughts, maybe what events made you respond in a certain way, what results they brought about, and what kind of thinking was driving you to react in the way that you didn't want to, and what you could have thought about the situation, how you could have acted instead. So say I'm driving and someone pushes in front of me and I immediately accelerate, and then although nothing happens, I get back home and I realize that I was driving dangerously. So what happened there? Well, what happened there was that I got upset because someone was driving in a way that according to me was inappropriate, and that made me want to show them that they're not the king of the road. So in that way, not only did I act dangerously, I also acted maybe in the same way as them, and then in the end I also felt bad about it. So it's like a triple damage almost. So if you realize that someone pushing in front of you or driving recklessly is something that triggers you, you are able then to change your response to it. And we can always do it. It's very hard to change those scripts when they happen because we've practiced them for so many years, but it is possible. I noticed so many examples of me acting in a certain way. I try to change my ways. There are struggles that never go away. So being accepting and knowing that these are your struggles, these are your challenges, and just trying to make some little changes here and there. And if you can be a better person 50% of the time, because you've challenged yourself, you've gone through your scripts, then I think that's a great achievement, and it can save a lot of relationships in your life and help you with many difficult situations where you're struggling emotionally. Yes, so scripts that we run are something to look into and explore and see whether we are self-sabotaging by letting them get in control of us rather than us controlling them. So if you've liked this video, like it. And also, if you're interested in the topics of emotional intelligence, motivation, building personal resilience, this is what I'm here for. I really love helping people by explaining these things to them and working through them as well as a coach. I think if becoming aware or self-aware is the first step, and I can help with that, that makes me feel very happy.